What's up, people? Rasatian here in Singapore, and thank you so much for joining me on the Night Owl podcast. You guys, I really appreciate you guys joining me. For those of you who are brand new, this is my own little space that I've cleared so that I can actually sit down and explain to you what I'm going through, what I'm experiencing, things I've tried, things that work, things that don't work, movies, music, quotes, interactions that I've had that have made me stop and think, had me open my eyes a little bit more, introduce a new perspective to me, and I just want to share, because if I share, then maybe you can find something that helps you in your life as well. So here I go. I have been going through some of my archive posts, because that's what I do. I post a lot of things in my stories, things that I find thought provoking, and I want to be able to save them for later, so I archive them as well so that I can go back and actually dig in a little bit more, expound on the thought that actually exploded in my own brain. And here I am on an old post from Create the Love, and he actually had a list of things that we do sometimes that actually avoid our own healing. So last episode was actually about dating projects, and I think I attempted my very best to actually explain what it means to possibly date a project. Now, I've done it a couple times, not gonna lie, where I find somebody I feel bad for, and I know that, based on the traumas that they've experienced in their past, I know that I could possibly offer a little bit more support, maybe be able to connect into some people that might be able to help them, move forward in their lives. And so I figure me being in their life might be a good thing for them, and I could prove to them that the world isn't so rotten after all. So by dating a project, though, suddenly all of the focus is on the other person, and it doesn't leave a lot for me to be able to process what I'm going through at the same time. Because let's face it, every interaction has an equal and opposite reaction, which means when they go through trauma, we experience a little bit ourselves. It triggers some memories for ourselves, and it's up to us to be able to take time and work through those situations. So, like I said, the last one was about dating projects. This one is about taking the responsibility for other people's feelings. So, I don't know about you, but I was raised in an Indian, Asian household. Being Tamil, being female, there were a lot of these ideas where if you upset somebody, it's up to you to make it better, right? So that means if I do something and you get upset by it, it's up to me to make you feel better, because obviously I caused you pain. I need to fix it, right? And I understand that to a degree, but this can be taken out of context as well. There have been plenty of times where I caused upset just by thinking differently from somebody else. And so then I had to what is that word I want to use? Adangu, as in like kowtow and admit that they actually have a valid point and mine may not be right after all, in order for them to feel justified, because that was the only way they were going to allow me to move forward in my life. It was like I was being held hostage because they were so upset about something, and I didn't have the space to be able to let them know that what they think is right, but what I think is also right, and can we come to a middle ground instead? So let me give you an example. There were plenty of times growing up, me and my mom, I was a teenager, loggerheads the whole time, because the way she wanted me to do things was not the way I wanted to do things. And it would be something simple like how to wash the dishes, how to cook, how to clean up after cooking, how to do my homework, when to do my homework. It was a big argument that I should not be doing my homework with headphones on, with music in my ears, because then I wouldn't be able to concentrate, right? But I mean, it calmed me down. It kind of drowned out all the extraneous noise, and I was able to focus because I kind of vibed with the music, right? So that was me personally, but for her it did not work, so she assumed that it should not work for anybody else. What works for her is the only way that it could be, but that's also the way she was raised. So when I came at her with, no, but I want to hear headphones because it keeps me calm, it helps me with my homework, she got into an argument about how I was wrong, she was right, I needed to change immediately or else, which means everything else would come to a screeching halt. And until I fixed what I was doing or apologize to her or make sure she felt the fact that I was repentant, there would be a Cold War situation in the house. Now, looking back, a lot of us would consider that emotional abuse, but it's just hurt people hurting people. If I can be honest, it means that she was not able to acknowledge that other ways of doing things could coexist with her own, which means she was not open to the idea of change. She was not open to many different ways to do something, which is kind of ironic because at the time we lived in a place called Yogurville, and the whole byline for that place was the truth is one, the paths are many. Anyway, so I digress. But taking responsibility for someone else's emotions is it's a big deal. It's a very heavy cross to bear because you never know how people are going to take things. If I were to say that, I did not want to do something when you needed something done, like I wasn't in the mood, but you wanted to do something, there is a chance that you might feel rejection somehow and get upset with me, which at that point, what are my choices? I can still do what I want to do, or I can kowtow again and do what you want to do so that you're not upset with me anymore. But in the event of doing that, when you put your feelings on a back burner to make sure the other person is okay, because obviously they're trying to control the situation, they're not going to let you feel what you feel while they're feeling what they're feeling, you don't get to heal what you're going through. You don't get to put yourself first. You don't get to draw a boundary. You don't get to do any of those things because they're making you feel like, well, if you loved me, you'd take care of me first. If you loved me and understood me, you would take care of my feelings first. People don't seem to understand. While you're having feelings, I'm having feelings too. While you're flipping out, I'm having a reaction to you flipping out. It may be reminiscent of some trauma that I've experienced, but I don't have a chance to say any of that because you're taking up all the space in the room, which is not a bad thing. It's just the fact that I can't always do this. There will be times in a good, strong, balanced partnership where the other person understands you got to flip out because it's part of your process, and they'll let you flip out, and then afterwards they get to talk about their side of things. But in that situation where hurt people, they don't have that space to consider that you might be going through something at the exact same time. So when Create the Love said that people avoid healing in various aspects, and he said one of those was to take responsibility for other people's other people's feelings, it took me a second to really sit with that and understand, you know what? Yeah, that's true. Because when I'm focused on you, I am not focused on myself. When I'm making sure that you're taken care of first, I don't get a chance to acknowledge the feelings that I'm feeling. I don't get a chance to talk about, hey, okay, I'm hurting too. I don't want you to hurt, but I don't want to hurt either. Let's come together in the middle on this, because you are not able to consider my feelings at the same time. So what happens? I put the priority on you because I want you to like me. I want you to love me. I don't want you to run away. I don't want you to feel like you're not loved, because I do love you. And so I have to put my feelings on a back burner, which means, when do I get to go back and revisit this? Probably never, because the chances are, if I even remotely touch on the subject, it may trigger you again for that same event. So I would love to hear your feelings on this. Let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, you guys, really think about that. How do you get to a place in a relationship where that person has the space to flip out, but you have a place and some space as well to explain how you're feeling at the same time at some point, where they don't sweep it under the rug, and once they feel better, that's it. You can't revisit it again. Case closed. Because that's not closure, and that's not communication either. I'll holler at you later, you guys. Take care. Bye.